Do you want to start recording also on them?
Oh, okay, Ken.
All right, so I admit all. Right.
Welcome to the research sharing event today. We will be waiting for another 3 to 5 minutes for more participants to come in. Thank you for your understanding.
Testing, testing. Okay.
So we will start the session now. Good morning. Selamat pagi. Kalai wanakum. 早安 to everyone who woke up early and join our session today. My name is Wan Ting. My surname is Lai. You may call me Wan Ting. I'm from Unit for Research on Women and Gender, School of Social Sciences, University Science, Malaysia. I'm your moderator today, and also I'm part of the research team. So our session today, the title is Designing Mobile Services for Aging Women in Malaysia. And we have 3 presentations today. Can you show the agenda, Dr. Koo? Yes. So you may see here, it will take us about 1 hour and 30 minutes for 3 exciting presentations from our team members. A few administrative matters for your attention. First, this session is recorded. We have informed everyone about the recording today, that it is recorded, and we ask for your permission and understanding. Second, please kindly make sure your mic is mute, so that the presentation will be going on smoothly. Unless you have questions, then you may unmute. And those that would like to ask questions, Mr. Hazwan's already posted the message in the Zoom chat. Participants can use the chat box to ask questions related to the presentations. Please kindly type your name, your organizations, followed by your questions, and to which speaker. You may also unmute to ask questions directly, so can interact directly with the speakers. We will allow 1 or 2 burning questions after each presentation. If not, then we will keep all the questions to the end, which is the sessions for Q&A. Then we will address them there. So now, any questions from our dear participants, dear audience today? Hello, everyone. Can't see you, but I guess that you are smiling behind the screen. Okay, let us start the seminar today. I would like to introduce Dr. Koo and also Dr. Wong, Dr. Wong Cui. Let me read some their background information so that you know them better. First, Dr. Koo Chu is an associate professor at Faculty of Creative Multimedia University, MMU. Dr. Koo received her Bachelor of Science from the Technology University of Malaysia and her PhD from MMU. She teaches courses on design research, web publishing for e-learning, interactive multimedia, and computer graphics. She is currently the Deputy Director of Industrial Collaborations and Engagement Center at MMU. She is active in the research of media usage, creation, and methods, especially on the promotions of education, wellness, communication, and lifelong learning. Her full research CV can be obtained from MU Expertise website or Google Scholar. Wow, very well experienced researcher, Dr. Koo. And we have also Dr. Chui Ying Wong. She is a UX architect at Intel Corporation. Prior to joining Intel, she was a UX consultant in Synergy, a commercial arm of Multimedia University, AMU, and senior lecturer at Faculty of Creative Multimedia, AMU. Her areas of expertise are user experience, user interface, ground technology, and inclusive design. She is the project leader for numerous international and national research grants, consulting projects, and trainings. Her passion is to incorporate users' needs into the product development process and align with business goals to create more user-friendly products for the well-being of humankind. She has a PhD in ground technology, Master of IT in Human Factors, and Bachelor in Media Studies. Yeah. We will now invite Dr. Koo.
Thank you.
And Dr. Chui. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Wan Ting, for your wonderful introductions for both of us. Good morning to our dear audience. Thank you for joining in for today's sessions. Today's session, we are actually would like to share about our research, which is funded by IDRC And the program is actually led by Carleton University from Canada. And this is a topic for our research. And together with Dr. Wong Thuy, this research has some chronology and also some background that Dr. Wong will be explaining about it. And I was previously a co-project investigator, and Dr. Wong was the principal investigator in MMU. Since after Dr. Wong joined industry, so I'm taking over for a year as a principal investigator, and Dr. Wong was the previous principal investigator for the first year. So let's begin our sharing for today's session. And Dr. Wong, may I share the screen and you can explain about your experience for the projects. Over to you, Dr. Wong. Dr. Wong?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, now can. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Carry
Okay,
on.
thank you to Dr. Khoo, and very good morning to all the participants online. Okay, not on the floor, online. It's very welcome to gender design STEAM, and especially our projects. Our very wonderful and sharing with everybody. And first, before we like to share more what we have done for the last 2.5 years. Let me give you an overview, of what this project is about. So, like we mentioned, that this project was started out was funded by Canada IDRC, and also hosted by Carleton University. So we are one of those. We are one of the successful applicants that one out of the 3 from Asian regions that actually the only one from Malaysia that we were awarded. And of course, there are a lot of other collaboration, the applicants from different regions, but we are very privileged to be. So what is this? The whole team, the programs about is gender design STEAM. Okay, it's short as GDS. So basically, the objectives of this program is do you want to build capacity for the research, design, and disseminations of gender innovation in STEAM, right? STEAM in this case means science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And from what Clara, so she's one of the main funder, mentions that very clearly. She says supported in the gender innovations, right? So something is very new area of practice, because most of the time when we talk about research practice or even innovations, we never consider gender as one of the very important elements into the process and others. So the inclusion, the gender considerations in design and also the research practice is very is important, especially in the whole entire inclusive design. So that is where the term of gender design come in place. And at the same time, most of the time we heard about traditional STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We never include the other spectrum from arts and social sciences. So that is where the STM become STEAM to STEAM, that is include the creative arts, visual arts, performing arts, literary arts and design, and also the liberal arts from the social science and humanities. So at the end, that we can combine and complement each other from different perspectives and come in place. And that's where the GDS the whole about, and it's very important you come back that the objective, the second part, is address the challenges predominantly faced by women, especially for this program, is low and middle income countries, LMICs. Okay, thanks, Dr. Khoo. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. Okay, how do I come into to apply this? I would say that we actually is very fortunate in the sense that from after we awarded, we get to know there are 200 to 300 applications from all over the world, and they have different regions. It's from north, south, and different part of the region. And Malaysia is one of the out of the 3 that awarded for this program, for this funded program. And when I come across this, because my PhD in 2019, when I finished my PhD in Geron technology, it maybe it sounds a new term, which means it's designing technology and product design for elderly. So that time I was doing a mobile user interaction study, and I recruited 80 seniors, the elderly that have some smartphone exposure, because my title was trying to understand the affordance model, which means intuitive design, that how smartphone interfaces for elderly. But when I do the recruitment of the 80 elderly, I have 40 female elderly and 40 male elderly. And I noticed that I have a huge amount of data, but there was a gap that which I find that some patterns actually arises from the gender gap and analysis, which I find that there was still a huge amount of data, which how can I further to analyze and also to come out some kind of interesting patterns and result. At the time, Haswan from my aging National Research Institute of Aging, that's actually helping me work along with me, especially we crawl through all the raw data. And when I come across the call for this GDS program, it sparked my idea. That's when inspiration come in. And secondly, very important is Malaysia will become an aged nation by 2030. Even the last 2 years in 2020, Malaysia has become an aging nation. And what does it mean? Which means 7% of our population is 65, is already reached that level. When it comes to 2030, it will increase to 8.2%. And very simply, the reasons because we have declining populations, growth rate, and of course with the medical, improvement, we have increased life expectancy, and of course there's also some older age of first marriage and less children that was including that was moving into the demographic shift into the aged nation, right? So the challenges, the thing is that facing elderly is using mobile technology is remain low, especially the result was there was based on Mueller. And the smartphone, however, the smartphone users in Malaysia is already increased. I would say that it's already reached more than 100%, but 29 million by 2021. So imagine that. But come to the respondents, come to the demographics of using smartphone. Only 30% of the respondents, those that responded to, the survey will say that those who are 65 years old, only 30% they had a smartphone. And which means the young people are still tend to own smartphone more than the old one. So there's a digital gap here that how can we actually address this issue? And also part of the government, the Malaysia government's initiatives is to adhere to the digital Malaysia, so that as part of national strategic initiative to make sure all, regardless age or people disability, or even genders and things, that we can, how will it be inclusive and then be part of this to make sure that is digitalized and they can be get access to the information mainstream and make sure that the digital economy for for the growth of our Malaysia's, right? And so the digital inclusion is important, especially to tackle based on age group or gender. And we find that this group, older adult populations, especially female elderly, are still marginalized from using smartphone. So how can we actually to address their needs and how can we improve better to share those from our insights? Okay, next please, Dr. Hu. Okay, from here, once it was very interesting is when I started to come across this, it sparked my idea. I was thinking what would be the best that to for our team to develop and materialize. So I started to move over, our expertise. How can we complement each other? Because to make a project wonderful, we need to complement each other from different skill set. So our team have a very wonderful multidisciplinary team. Like say Dr. Koo right now, the current project leader, her expertise was on digital smart city and also digital health and online learning. And I'm coming from user experience and Geron technology. And Dr. Yvonne is she is a data science and also economy expertise. So that time, and also at the same time, there was 3 of us are from MMU, right, from Multimedia University. And I say, okay, we are still lacking some of the expertise, right? So I get to know one thing, Dr. One Thing. She is the expert in gender studies and qualitative as well. So on the quantitative side, apart from Dr. Yvonne, and we have Haswan. And he is from my aging, which means the research institute of aging, the expertise, and also he's also statisticians. So Tara Jiayue was recruited as one after the awarded project as a graduate research assistant. So we come together as a team to complement each other. Very earlier, like I say, in the project was started in 2020, and then the durations until end of this year. So we have 2 years, and after I left MMU and joining Intel last year, so Dr. Koo took over, to manage the whole project. And at the same time, the wonderful things about this project is we have regional advisor support from Yoko Akama and also Carleton University, especially her expertise on design, research, service design, and participatory design as well. So this was make a wonderful project, especially. Okay, next, Dr. Koo. So the objective and our project is, the main thing is to explore the relationship with aging women with their use of smartphone and mobile services everyday life. And we have 3 specific objectives. The first one is to conduct secondary research, which is leading to the phase 1. Later on, Dr. Yvonne will share about the findings. And in terms of exploring telecommunication expenditures patterns, especially the female-led and older adults-led household in Malaysia based on micro data set from Malaysia, DOSM statistics. It was a really, really huge data. And the second phase is how can we combine, apart from quantitative, is to look into qualitative, right? Because the expertise that we have is to look at the mixed methods. So the second phase is to explore Malaysia female elderly on the use of mobile services and applications, especially the experience and their behavioral patterns in everyday lives through the lens of intersectionality approach that was, the input from Prof. Yoko, our advisor. And overall, we come out a proposed gender inclusive framework for increasing our aging women's use of mobile application services. Okay, now I'd like to pass the sessions to Dr. Koo to continue to, to walk through us the whole project about. Pass to you, Dr. Koo.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Wong. For today, we have many audience from from the NGO University of Third Age, U3A, whom supported our research, especially on the phase 2. So we are very grateful to U3A, the president, and even for UPM to support this research, especially on phase 2. And for phase 1, we also thank DOSM, and with the initiative by Haswan and also Dr. Yvonne. Both of them are very strong in terms of connection to DOSM and the data from the existing data from the DOSM. So without further ado, I'm just going to explain further about the processes of these projects. So the phase 1, as we explained earlier on, it is mainly focuses on a quantitative approach, utilizing the existing secondary data that we can have. There are good set of the data from HIES, Household Income and Expenditure Survey. And later, Dr. Yvonne and Haswan will be giving you the details of this study, focusing on silver lining of aging, gender, and the telecommunication expenditure in Malaysia household. And second part, phase 2, focuses on case studies on female elderlies and their mobile usage and their experiences. So this research has captured some case studies, in-depth case studies that we have conducted. And this phase 2 will be presented by Ms. Tara Tan, who is our graduate research assistant, and she registered to the master program in Multimedia University, Faculty of Creative Multimedia. And she has, upon the discussion with the project team, she has devised a comprehensive case study research framework focusing on qualitative approach and adapting online research methodology, which is an emergent design method that we encounter. And we find it very useful and wanted to share with the audience today. So we submitted this creative infographic to Faculty of Creative Multimedia exhibition event. And hopefully it will be accepted for the event to be exhibited in early next year. Overall findings of our research, we would like to propose an overall framework of gender design so that the concept of inclusiveness based on age and particularly based on gender can be devised and also highlighted in this particular framework. And we are also align our goals to the goals of GDS for STEAM, especially on the use of mobile technologies that we encounter. There are a lot of recent changes in the mobile services provided by various telcos, also offered a lot of solutions and also services to the people, especially in our society. Okay, so these are some key concepts that were identified, and we actually have came out with a report of an explanation about this framework in our reports of GDS Carleton University website. They will include those reports in the final resource of the URL that I shared earlier on Carleton. I think it is in our slide as well. So phase one has the discovery in terms of telco expenditure, and in terms of it is still a luxurious items, and affordability is crucial in the sense of providing a more inclusive framework for the access of mobile service and technologies. In terms of findings for phase one, household characteristic, some important characteristics such as household size, income, age, composition, and locations in terms of urban and rural are contributing to the differences of elderly women or older women to access to the telco service, especially in terms of their expenditure for telco services and equipment. Beside that, household demographic also has some variables that has contributed to the differences of the access to these technologies and the services, especially for their accessibility. Okay, accessibility. In fact, in GDS, our research is classified under accessibility and also under the technology area. For phase two case study, it is very much qualitative based, and some encounters will be detailed in the presentation by Tara Tan. And these are some important concepts also, which is aligned to the presentation by Tara later on, which I thought maybe I don't want to explain it more because due to some time of the interest of time. And however, let me just quickly go through. There are all about the variables, about the willingness to learn, the learning ability and wanted to improve. These are some factors that we encounter to be relevant in terms of promoting the inclusiveness for elderly women to have better access to mobile technologies. Family and social roles that they play contributed to that as well. Communications shared with their social group. So that aspect is also quite important when the elderly has social connectedness to the group of their people, group of their peers and friends. Of course, mobile culture in the assisting society and also the environment stands also very important factors. And information gathering, digital literacy, also those are very important, like knowledge enhancement in terms of digital skills. And one aspect on health, the samples shows like they are more concerned about their health and well-being. And lastly, about the mismatch of the seniors' mental model in using the phone that they have and also the access to the services. So those aspects are very important for them to have greater access to the technologies and for improving the quality of life of the elderly as well. In a nutshell, this is the project overview or the chronologies. So in fact, we were given 6-month extensions for the projects because the project happened during the high peak of COVID-19.
2 minutes to wrap up. Thank you.
Okay. COVID-19 pandemic. So during that time, the situation was not stable. So that's why we were given extensions. And from here, you can see the stages. So this is probably one aspect that we can share with you on the project management aspect, on a few milestones of the projects in order to deliver the outcome. And the rest of the slides that I have, the activities and also some photos of the activities that I'm not going to explain that. However, we have quite a lot of experience learning from the experts from the program, our international experts, and even from the experts from Carleton University. And internally, our group also having some fun exploring Miro boards to do discussion. And there are some sessions with regional experts, Dr. Yoko Akama and Dr. Tracy. And internally, we have research meetings. And in terms of data collection, we must thank U3A for the helps. And Terras is able to lead that and smoothly completed data collections. And moving forward, we are also reporting our research and disseminate, such as today's program, to disseminate the information of the findings to the audience. And lastly, this is the last slide. We would like to mention that this research is actually able to promote collaborations at the national levels. For us, within us, also we are nationally able to collaborate, and internationally also able to have partners like experts also helping on our project, especially on the advice by the regional experts in terms of some prominent theories for the research. And then capacity building and nurturing talents to be more well-versed on this topic, gendered design and inclusiveness for elderly women, elderly groups of the people, and also about the intersectionality theories that we have some good encounters for that. And dissemination is part of the output. And more importantly, these projects, we would like to highlight about the contribution to Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, in terms of gender equality, especially for female elderly with the gendered and the age consideration, so that the involvement and the development of mobile technologies, mobile tools and applications can also be assessed by them and make meaningful exploration and usage of these technologies. And this research also trying to reduce inequality by highlighting these topics, and hopefully the technologies developer, such as from the industry, is also able to get the idea about the gender innovation design and age inclusive design. And we today is one of the chance to explain and also share this to various stakeholders, such as our audience today. Thank you for that. This research, we would like to acknowledge a few, quite a number of parties that stated in these slides. And we also would like to thank UTA that I mentioned, and also to UPM, My Aging Institute, the director, Prof. Engineers, Dr. Siti Anum, and also to our respective institution for giving us time to conduct this research, and of course to our MMU RMC for supporting the administrative of the grants, and of course to our collaborators, the coordinator and yeah, this research is not able to be done without the support of the finding. Therefore, thank you to the funders. With that, we have the references, and that's the end of my our group presentation together with Dr. Wong Chuin. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Lai.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Koo and also Dr. Chuying, for the very inspiring, informative, and interesting presentations on designing mobile services for aging women in Malaysia, funded by Canada IDRC and Carleton University funded project. For those who just joined us, this seminar is organized by the Faculty of Creative Multimedia, FCM Multimedia University, in collaboration with UPM University Putra Malaysia, University Science Malaysia, and Intel Corporation. Welcome to our event today. Now we will move on to the second very exciting presentations from two of our members. They are Dr. Yvonne Lee and Mr. Hazwan, the only Ross in our team. Okay, let me introduce Dr. Yvonne. Dr. Yvonne Lee obtained her Bachelor of Business Administration, Hons Economics with Multimedia from Multimedia University under the Multimedia Scholarship Foundation, MSF Scholarship, and Master of Arts, International Development from Flinders University, South Australia under the Colombo Plan Commemorative Scholarship. She completed her doctorate thesis in Multimedia University in 2014. Dr. Yvonne Lee has been an academician from a total of 16 years, but she looks so young. Earlier in her career, Dr. Lee worked in the area of management consulting and international markets at Accenture. Currently, she is a lecturer at the Faculty of Management and Chief Risk Coordinator at Multimedia University. And at the same time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Hazwan Madin. He is a research officer at Malaysian Research Institute on Aging, University Putra Malaysia. He received his bachelor's degree in medical laboratory technology from University Technology Mara and Master of Science in medical statistics from University Science Malaysia. Currently, aside from conducting research, he also provides statistical consultations for undergraduate and postgraduate students at the institute. His research interests includes instrument development and validation, as well as mental health, happiness, and well-being study among older adult population. So Hazwan is also the alumni of USM. Yeah, right. Now the first one, exploring DOSM, Department of Statistics Malaysia, data on gender and elderly issue with technology. Over to you, Dr. Yvonne and Mr. Hazwan.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lai Wanting. So I will now share. So good morning to everyone. I will be explaining about the DOSM data analysis that we have done on gender and elderly issue with technology. To begin, as we have been briefed just now, Malaysia is an up-and-coming digital nation, and we have various digital-based policies to support that. And it is true that Malaysia is a mobile-first nation, as mentioned by Ms. Fu earlier, and that doesn't exclude that there is still a gap slightly of internet access between the rural and urban area, but that it is a mobile internet access that has narrowed the gap, not the fixed broadband access. So only 34% of Malaysian households access the internet through wired broadband. Now compared to almost 90, and now today we see almost 100% who access through mobile broadband in 2020. So to continue.
So I think that most of our participants are already aware that our Malaysian population is actually aging. So based on the facts from Dr. Wong and Dr. Koo in the introduction slides, so we can say that the definition of aging can be divided by two organizations, the main organization in the world based on the United Nations and also the World Health Organization. So United Nations use the 65 and above for the older persons, while the WHO use the 60 and above. So we mainly in Malaysia for the time being use the 60 and above for the older adults cutoff. So looking at the population increasing in our Malaysian populations, by the 2030, we will make up of 15% of the total populations will make up for the 60 and above older adults, which means that when it's 15s or at least 15s, then it can be considered as an aged nation. So this aging, this rapid aging in Malaysia is actually a sign of successful socioeconomic development in the country, because the older adults live longer due to the increased life expectancy, due to the improve of the healthcare delivery of the nations. But at the same time, due to the working environment in our populations, people tend to marry late compared to the previous generation, and because of that, the fertility rate, the population growth rate also decrease. So the younger people decrease. At the same time, older people increase. So this is what contribute to the aging populations. So the next slide, we can on the next slide explain that due to this situation, that low of female labor participation rate in Malaysia leads to low retirement saving among Malaysian women. This part is particularly targeted the older women in Malaysia, why they are exposed to this kind of risk. That is the reasons that why we conduct this research, to see how actually older women experience the telecommunications view of the in their life. And the government spending and allocation on the aged care is also below par when compared to the other countries. That is why then when we talk about aging in Malaysia, we know what most of us, when the one that involved in the My Aging's network and everything, knows that we are aging, but we are not actually prepared for the aged nation. So hopefully this kind of research in our country can contribute much or less for the awareness or knowledge of our population of how we are going to prepare for aging. All right. Yvonne?
Okay. So one of the things that are of concern, because the females have lower participation rate in the labor force, and when they age as older adults, they have income mainly from informal sources. So the propensity is higher among the females. And these informal sources income are inconsistent and they are uncertain. And also there is financial constraint that has been cited as one of the main barriers for older adults in Malaysia using smartphones from other research. And older adults, when they are being analyzed, they are usually taken as one whole group overall. And we did not do an analysis of gender differences of the two sexes using mobile phones. And as what we have mentioned, female older adults have fewer resources of income compared to their male counterparts. And a majority of these female older adults will rely on their children's monthly remittance to support their daily expenditures. In Malaysia, we are a mobile first nation and we are reaching 100% mobile internet access. But the concern here is of the low income households, because when you have a low income, internet expenditure, telecommunication expenditure become a bigger part of your expenditure monthly. And if let's say there are price increases, which is going to happen as we become having internet that is higher speed, higher capability, like from 4G to 5G, then it will have a challenge to cope with the rising cost of internet. And the other reason is that if you want to have mobile networks to the last underserved community in the rural and even further than rural, the remote areas, they cost even more. So usually these telcos will pass on the cost to the customers. And this will also create the digital divide. So the digital divide in terms of what the low-income households can afford, especially those consisting of female older adults and those who are from the other rural and remote areas. So we have seen, and other research also have seen that there are a lot of these households that have higher disadvantaged traits, like youth, minorities, and from rural areas, they do spend more of their income on telecommunication expenditure. And while we are mobile first, because mobile can be quite costly, especially if you use it extensively. And so when the higher price elasticity here means that when the price increase by 10%, the quantity that is being used or demanded in economics term reduces by more than 10%. So it's quite price sensitive. Whereas overall for internet, it's not that price sensitive. And in some of the developed countries where research was done, telecommunication expenditure is quite consistent in the amount and is similar to the expenditures of necessities.
Yeah, so when we are looking at the data of the necessity and the usage of this telecommunications usage among the low income, the older adult populations, that in Malaysia, the data is actually quite lacking in terms of those findings. So we are actually the one that pioneering in this kind of research for now. So the closest national level we have on the data of the telecommunications usage is based on the microdata from the DOSM, Department of Statistics Malaysia. So using the microdata of the household income, expenditure, and basic amenity survey, which is short form in HIES, the HIES composed of the expenditure and also income survey that was conducted nationally by the DOSM. In 5 years, they most commonly do it like 2 times in 5 years. So the one that we have for this study, we got it for the study is the 2019 and 2016. Above for 14 plus household and 14,000 household for 2016 and 60,000 household for 2019. So this data are the closest one at national level we had or we can use to explore the telecommunication expenditure. And also based on the expenditure in the data, we can isolate the expenditure based for what we want, for just what we want, which is the telecommunications. In the HAS, based on the COICOP, which is the 4-digit classification of individual consumption, COICOP code is a code that DOSM use based on international coding, that they code the expenditure for the monthly of Malaysian population. So there are 12 actually coded for the COICOP based on the necessity of daily use, for example, for the consumption for the transport, consumption for the foods, and one of them is consumption for the telecommunications. And based on that code, we isolate the telecommunications only, which reflect the use of the consumption of the income for the equipment and also telecommunication service. So for the purpose of the study, we mainly use that kind of expenditure to explore any related demographics variable that can explain what is the variance that can be explained by the telecommunications service and also equipment. So the demographic variable that interests in our study, or that can be extract from the HIS data, is that based on the data is basically more on the household level rather than the individual's level. So when we talk about the data in the HIS or in these quantitative studies, we referring to the household of the population. It's not actually the individual or the population, but more of the household level. So when we use the demographic data, we can only extract, like, if the household contain all the adults, then we can consider them as household with all the adults. So when we use the variable in the study, we use the household, for example, household heads and all the adults. So it means that the coding for the one is 1. We want the household to be an order adult that consists in the household. So another example, which is household head is a female, or household heads is for female or the adult. So that kind of variables we can extract from those. Also, we can also extract some of the non-demographics, not that demographic. For example, whether the household is in the urban area or whether the household comprised of all of the adults. So that kind of thing is actually interesting for us to explore, considering that we have the aging population right now. So just to remind you again that the cutoff point for these studies, we use the 60 and above, rather than not the 65 and above, because of you are using the WHO definition of aging. So on the characteristic of the data sets for the 2016 and 2019, so this is what I explained just now, the variables of the data set. For example, we take the household head is a female. That is mean yes for 2016. We have like 16.7% of the household which lead by the female household head, so 16%. And we can see here, due to the aging population, we can see that the household head is a female or the adult, and also every member of the household is older adult, increased from 2016 to 2019. I think the increase is quite high, from 3.2% to 4.4% for the female or the adults lead household. And then the second one is the every member of the household is older adults, it's 0.7 to 8.2. Maybe the number is not that much, but because of the aging population we have right now, that means that, for example, that every member of the household is older adult, means that in that household only older adults live in that household, which means that most probably the couples with both of them already 60 and above living without children, or maybe that could be that older adult living alone in that household without the children living in the same household. So we can see that the number from 900 to 1,000 more in 2019. And this is the 2019 data. If we look at the latest data, the number should be higher. So there is the comparison between the 2016 and 2019 data set of HIS, showing that aging population in our country is actually happening, and the older adult is actually living in the household, whether they are living with the children or within alone. Because when we see that at least one member of a household is older adult, you see the percentage from 4,000 corresponding to 27% into 36% in 2019. So these are all the adults that only one of them, at least one of them in household then present, then the numbers showing the increase, the rapid increase from 2016 to 2019 is very huge. So it's like 10% difference there, and there is part of the aging related characteristic of the HIS. Other than that, we can see that household is more on the urban area. We can see the urbanization rate of Malaysia is actually improved from 2016 to 2019 from 69 to 75%. So household head for the Bumiputra is more or less the same. And then others characteristics is not actually alarming, but for other adult related characteristic is actually should not worthy for us to take note that if we're not prepared for this one, then we should embrace for it. And like, okay, so that is more or less on the characteristic of 2019 and 2019 data. Just to remind you that this is a national-wide data. So it's safe to say that it represents a whole population of our country. All right.
Yes. So coming from the demographics, in terms of telecommunication expenditures, we decided to compare telecommunication expenditure with something that is more everyday, like food. But as we know now, telecommunication is sometimes more important or as important as food, because there are certain functions that we have in our daily lives that need telecom, internet, for example. So when we compare between the low income groups on the left-hand side and denoted as 1, with the higher income group denoted as 10 on the right-hand side for these two graphs, what we see is that food is a necessity, but there is just a certain amount that we consume, isn't it? So, and if let's say we have low income, the amount of money we spend on food will be higher percentage of our existing income. But as we have higher and higher income, the amount of spending for food probably will increase, but not by so much, because we can't eat 10 meals a day just because we are 10 times richer. So it will be more or less lower and lower proportion as we go from low to high income groups. But for telecommunications, it is not having these features, because usually those in a lower income group, they have between 2 to, and also from even in the highest point is about 3.25% of their income is telecommunication expenditure. We can explain it by saying that if we have low income group, they will buy the minimal internet or mobile internet package. But as we have more and more income, we tend to buy faster or packages that have bigger data allocation. So this is something that we found specifically for households that have all older adults. And we also found similar patterns for household among older adults headed, that are older adults headed, and also likewise for female older adults headed as well. So the pattern is consistent. And this shows that those at the lower income group may be having internet use. Yes, they do, but they may not have optimal, that we need higher data allocation to perform activities like online learning.
Yeah, so those are the comparison between the foods and the telecommunications. But when we calculate the shares of the telecommunication expenditure by dividing the expenditure of telecommunication to the household income, we can see that the share on the telecommunication is actually varied from the household head of female until every household is an income reachable. There is a variation there. But the most important point that we want to point out is that when the characteristic involve older adults and female, which is the gender female and older adults, we can see the difference is very, very large. So you see at the third row, household head is a female older adults. In 2016, when the female or the adults leading the household, the share is very, very low, 2.46 compared to those who are non-female or the adults leading household. The difference is 0.64, among the largest difference for that 2016 and also for that 2019. Even though the difference is decreased in 2019 to 0.57, but the impact there is that we can see that the female or the adult as a household head is actually spending more or less on the telecommunications expenditure for the household. And then when we consider that every member of household is an older adult, the example that I give you briefly is that if the couples only living in the household, both of them is older adult, then we can see that they spend more or less compared to those who are living without other adults or household without other adults. So the point is here is that involving the aging population, when you involve the older adult as a part of the household, you can see that when the older adults control the household, the spending on the telecommunication is actually not that much compared to this younger generation, younger household. So which means that the potentially that this older adult is not actually using technology in their daily life activity, or maybe just for basics daily use, but not for those like technology related advancement use of the smartphones, of the internet. So why they are not using this kind of functions in daily life? Maybe because of they are not aware, or they are unfamiliar of those usage of those functions, or we can see that in the phase 2 is presented by Tara after this, why they are not using the internet or the smartphone as compared to the younger household. So the facts here is that the statistics shows that those aging population is actually suffering from technological advancement. How they are suffer, so maybe we can talk about that after this in the qualitative data. And the other things,
reminder to wrap up the presentation in 2 minutes.
all right, thank you, Miss Moderator. So so another thing that we want to highlight is that the change in the household head is a Bumiputra. This is not actually related to aging, but it is convenient. It is a good thing, good findings that in 2016, the difference between the Bumiputra and non-Bumiputra is very large. The Bumiputra is not using that much of the telecommunications, but in 2019, the difference is become very much low. It's not that significant that for now. So which means that the Bumi and non-Bumi is now actually using the telecommunications equally, more or less equally. All right. So in the next slide, yeah. So maybe you can take this one, Yvonne.
Yes. So quite similarly, what we found is that when we put all these variables together in an economic model, that if let's say the household head is an older adult, the characteristic of female older adult and every member is older adult, these are significant. So this again proves what Mr. Haswan was saying, that these characteristics do affect the share of telecommunication expenditure. So it is in 2016 and in 2019, the older adult, and if every member of the household is an older adult, is significant. And if at least one member, it is not significant. But if the household head is a Bumiputra, although the difference has decreased, but it is still a very significant characteristic in determining the share of telecommunication expenditure. So in conclusion, right, households that are headed by older adults, female older adults, and households that consist entirely of older adults have lower percentage shares of the monthly telecommunication expenditure, which consists of expenditure on services as well as expenditure on equipment over household income. So, and this shows that their share is consistently lower than those who are not older adult, not female older adult headed households, and so on, that there has to be considerations in the telecommunication services packages that are being offered by by telcos to address these needs. They cannot be left behind, basically. And it is to note that the analysis in 2019 especially was attempted after the MSAP, mandatory standard asset pricing, where we have double the speed or lower half the price. So it was where internet was quite affordable already compared to earlier years. And it is also at the beginning of the strategic communications policy. So another analysis of the 2021 data set could yield more interesting findings. So that's the references, and that's it for my presentation. So over to you, Ms. Moderator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yvonne and Mr. Hazwan, for the excellent presentation. And we'd like to know if there are any burning questions from the floor. I read this from Lily Fu, saying that what would be the needs of the elderly? Is it questions specifically addressing to the two presenters here? Or we can, yes?
Yeah, I think that question from Lily Fu will be answered by the next phase of this presentation, right, from Tara. So what will the other person need for the telecommunications or the use of the internet? So that should be covered in there. So if not, then we will discuss it in the later session, in the later phase of this study session. Then we can discuss it on what is most potentially needs for the elderly for telecommunication improvement, right?
Yeah, I see Chui. Thanks, Mr. Hazuman. I see also Dr. Chui, you unmute. You want to say something? Can't hear you, Chui. Dr. Chui.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I think I compliment what Haswan say. Please stay back with us, because the next phase, the qualitative, is to share the insight of why you ask questions, what are the needs, and that was from the primary data set which was discovered, from through the three methods in use. So there are a lot more. I'll let Tara to explain more. Then later on we will, ramp up the sessions. Okay. One thing pass to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chui Ying. Yeah, please stay on with us. The next highlights is in next few seconds. And now we invite everyone, please kindly turn on your video. We would like to take a group photo.
Can everyone turn on their video,
Yeah.
if possible? We would like to take a group photo for us for this sharing, for these lovely people. All right. We have like 24 attending this now. So if there anyone else would like to turn
Okay,
on.
it's okay. Prof. Rashida is not able to turn on the video. It's okay.
All right. So when I say 1, 2, 3, I think everyone should smile, right?
Yes.
All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Wait, I need to take the second. All right. Do we have what? Let's do a freestyle. Anyone can do whatever. Maybe peace or something. All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Happy to see everyone's faces here. Yeah, just for a few seconds. All right. Now we will move on to our phase 2 presentations by our dear Tara, Miss Tara. Phase 2 on intersectionality lends to female elderly's mobile usage experience. She was on the field work for the few months, so it's so interesting to hear her findings. And let me introduce Tara to you. Tara Tan currently is a master's student and graduate research assistant under an International Development Research Center (IDRC) grant in Faculty of Creative Multimedia, University MMU. She received her bachelor honors in media arts in MMU. She likes to explore areas involving media arts and graphic arts. design. Research interests includes mobile service design, gender design among the aging population in Malaysia. So over to you, Tara.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Moderator, Dr. Lai. So my name is Tara, and I will be presenting intersectionality lens to female elderly's mobile usage experience under the COVID-19. So an intimate or intimidating relationship.
Tara, can you put in the full share screen? Okay,
Yes.
great.
Okay, sorry. Okay, before I start my presentation, firstly, I would like to quickly acknowledge that this research is funded by the IDRC grant and also the Canada Carleton University. And secondly, I would like to express my thanks, like my gratitude to all participants who had taken part in this study, who also contributed their time and efforts with us. So, okay, I would like to begin my presentations. Okay, introductions. So as we know that due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, so it has accelerated the need for digitalizations among all walks of life. Of course, also including the older age group. So the only alternative to stay active and socially connected only through the online medium and also the digital technologies. So just for example, like the most basic mobile phones and also mobile services and the internet are really crucial during this COVID-19 challenge. So meanwhile, as mentioned in the first slides presentations by Dr. Koo and Dr. Wong, that the aging populations is increasing, but they should not be a neglected silver supergroups, and also with their ability to stay connected and also work as a mobility aid for the communication. Okay, so here there's some of the examples that reported by the online news or the online media on the elderly mobile usage patterns under the COVID period. This is all in the Malaysian context. So as you can see from the headlines here that the Malaysian senior citizens really thanks to the pandemic because that they are able to pick up these online these digital skills and the online. So which just for example, like they utilize this one, the video call, and also they also adopt like online banking, e-banking, e-wallets, and also like using this tablet for the virtual exercises. Others like navigating the social media platforms, and also like My Sejahtera is really important. And so it has become a norm for the elderly to pick up these technologies and these services to assist them in continuing their daily tasks and also coping with the mobility restrictions. Okay, digital divide, as mentioned by the few previous two slides. So elderly consists of 30.6% as smartphone users. However, well, the younger age group is found that they adopt smartphones higher than older age groups. So there's the digital divide there exists. And also because of the pandemic, it even increases the divide, the gap. Especially elderly who are less tech savvy and also who have restricted skills and also limited digital infrastructures. So they find it difficult to adapt to these online technological tools under the pandemic challenge. Okay, so what is the gap that we aim to fill in the research? Firstly, there's still the lack of studies or the research related to elderly's mobile adoption and experiences under the pandemic or even the endemic. So there's also a lack of the discussion among for aging and also incorporate with gender perspectives in technological studies, in technological research. And also the importance of adoption of the intersectionality lens, where it explains the intersecting factors that causes an individual or groups to power, privilege, and the inequalities. So, and also the importance of this also fill in the gap that the gender, we have to be aware of gender, especially on mobile gender gap and the gender digital divides to exist in Malaysia. And according to World Economic Forum and also the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commissions on the Statistics and the Survey on the genders, on the mobile phone penetrations, the STEM and ICT education and skills attainment, that they've still found that the female is still relatively lower as compared to male. And also often that the females are underrepresented in the STEM studies. So another thing is that there's still the discrimination and the negative stereotypes ahead of the female, especially in terms of technological adoption and their usage performance. Such negative stereotypes or representations like female only use it for chatting and gossiping, and then they are less interested, or even they are less tech savvy in terms of the technology adoption. Okay, so to address these gaps, so this research aims to use an intersectionality lens to identify the experiences on how female elderly use their mobile phones and services under the COVID-19 norm. So, okay, besides these studies actually take on a new lead to analyze the gender by utilizing these non-binary perspectives. So what is meant by the binary perspectives or binary system? It means that gender is usually, or in general, so our society, we view gender as only two options, or the biological sexes of male and female. So usually the ways of behaving, the activities, the roles are always expected to be matched to the sexes of a person, or we say that what is appropriate, what is the behavior appropriate for being a male or a female role. And so we are looking at beyond just the biological differences, we are looking at how gender is constructed. So gender is defined as socially and culturally constructed, where people learn roles, behaviors, ideologies, norms under the social structures or cultural context they live in. For example, like from schools, institutions, religions, or even family culture and all that. So, and another thing, according to Butler, that gender is performative, where gender identity is formed through our everyday everyday repetitive of these actions and the behaviors. So by understanding how gender is formed, gender come to influence people in performing those roles. How gender how gender comes to influence people in performing those roles, or even like how women are expected to be, and like they need to play certain roles in the families or communities, like care work, housework, or maintaining the relationship. And also these are the circumstances that will influence how the mobile technologies or system are developed, designed, and also how these mobile technologies and systems that they can play a role in supporting or even inhibiting the woman's participation. Okay, so as Ganito mentioned, that mobile phone is a place for gender performance. So which means that mobile phone can be a medium where people play out or carry out their roles or the activities which are regarded appropriate for men and also women. Like for example, men on exploring digital skills and all that, and then women like use mobile phone for chatting and then gossiping or something like that. And then it can also transform gender, which beyond the traditional practices is like how, like for example, one of the gender, they upgrade their skills, or they have invest or spend more time in the new interests, especially in utilizing the mobile phone. So it also reflects a new cultural meaning in using mobile phone, and it reflects also new behaviors. Okay, so this study adopted the intersectionality lens. So intersectionality lens, just to briefly go into details, is that it's a theory that connects not just gender, but also link other social factors like age, ethnicity, class, and then abilities, or even nationality and all this, that will influences on these individuals or groups' identities, and also the experiences of privileges or inequalities. So in this study, the case is the female elderly and their adoption of the mobile phones, and also their experience either in an advantage or disadvantage situation in usage or the experience of the mobile phone. So, okay, this how this study is qualitative studies carry out. So it's employed qualitative case studies methods, and with 3 data collection methods, interview, mobile walkthrough, and also diary studies. So these case studies, all the sessions and the activities were conducted via the online medium and digital technology tools like Zoom and also WhatsApp to carry out the diary. So after the data were collected, and then it was transcribed and then coded and categorized into teams. So this were the criteria set for recruiting the participants. So such as living in Klang and having 3 months of smartphone usage experience, and also staying with one of the family members to study the relationship. Okay. So a total of 7 participants, their age between 66 to 77 years old, were recruited, and they were recruited from a senior learning community and also by snowballing method, which introduced by other participants. So, okay, the participants also consist of 3 main ethnic groups, like the Malay, Chinese, Indians, because we also focus want to study on the diverse mobile culture. And then all participants own a smartphone, and before this, they also had around roughly 3 to 9 years experience in using smartphones. And in addition, that just want to highlight, because they are in the urban or the semi-urban setting, so they more or less have a more secure financial background, and also at least the upper secondary, which equivalent to SPM, and they are and also a few to tertiary education. Okay, so these are the verbatim codes and also the qualitative data that I gathered on female elderly mobile usage experiences, the findings. But due to time constraint, of course, I will not present this detail. Maybe I just roughly brief through or go through. So firstly, female elderly experience of connectivity and reachability. So for example, they are still able to establish close connections with the family members, their friends, acquaintances, social circles. And then it is also perceived as a convenient and time-saving tool, for booking, schedule booking appointments online, and then maybe getting resources, information, get themselves updated. So, for example, one of the participants said that we are very happy with WhatsApp because near and far you can just connect within seconds. So it's also interesting to learn about the Malaysia's unique mobile culture, and how the participants with different ethnicity practice the culture and the language within the mobile phones. So especially it's really unique that a few of the participants, they are involved in the intercultural marriage. So one of the participants, she will create those kind of e-cards, example that I show here. So the e-cards are for wishes and celebrations during Hari Raya, Chinese New Year, Deepavali. So this participant, she will share towards her family with different background and religion, like she mentioned, Christian, Buddhist, Hindus, and Muslims. So these are a more unique, a more exceptional kind of case for these participants. So in terms of connectivity, not only for kinship, friendship, but also to social connectedness, like social happenings, social issues, especially through reading news. So, okay, the next theme is essentiality and dependency and intimate relationship for fulfilling basic needs. So how essential and how dependent it was, participants have mentioned that they felt insecure, desperate, or even despair without having their mobile phone. So why it is essential? Because they really serve their daily routines and needs during the pandemic, especially that they can continue with that. It's also supportive to the online news and the media that reported on the elderly mobile usage patterns, and online deliveries, and then Grab, or maybe like online delivery, banking, e-banking. It's really for their household convenience lah, and also reduce the traveling. It's really convenient. And also mobile phone helps them to cope with the feelings of the isolations and anxiety during they stay at the house, like in the house, or during the retiree periods. Sorry, during the retiree. And so it is also really essential, really important that they are still able to maintain their health and well-being by using the mobile phone. So what is the examples is like playing this kind of mobile games lah. It can be brain teaser games or really some challenging or relaxed games lah. Or they even engage in the virtual exercise or like leisure or even religious or spiritual online activities. So that's why it is really important lah. It's really important for them to have a mobile phone that continue to their living through the pandemic, and also their continue their everyday life. Okay, the third theme is discovery and exploration, the wonder of application features. So like positive feelings that has become one of the motivators for them to continue learning the mobile apps and services. So what are the feelings is like they really feel excited or wonderful, amazed, happy, or they are like really satisfying and really enjoy for certain mobile features or mobile apps that they are using. And then, for example, like the most important that they have this, they enjoy these free apps or the web-based services lah. And also like the unlimited cloud storage, for example, on Telegram, and then membership privileges like on those mobile shopping apps. So they can use it and without worrying the cost. So like one of the female participants have mentioned that, oh, it's great that we can talk free of charge on WhatsApp. Okay, how awesome, like that. So participants also, they feel quite gratitude lah. I mean, they also thankful because of the pandemic and the mobile phone able to let them like upgrade themselves or enrich themselves with knowledge and skills. So, okay. So, well, in the contrary, that I mean, aside from the intimate kind of the relationship, they also express their concerns, their worries on the online frauds and security issues lah. So, for example, they have experienced scams also and fake news also, and then they also worry about hackers lah. So, they are actually quite careful in all these things lah to prevent from falling into the traps of frauds and all this, and also prevent hackers. And but it has also processed a challenge lah for elderly who are for participants who are less tech savvy, especially in adoption of this kind of the banking services, e-transaction, payment services. So like one participant expressed a concern like, I dare not do anything online because I'm worried about scams. So I really resist to going on banking or learning banking, something like that. So other challenges faced by the participants like old age barriers. So it's quite common that they face deterioration in the visual and cognitive abilities lah. Like very common that participants will say, oh, I forgot my login password, and it's really hassle to go and retrieve back this one and that one. So probably they give up or what. And then lack of immediate and empathetic support from their family members lah. It can be their spouse or children or their niece and nephews. So sometimes they have to self-learn, have to force to self-learn or even seek for external help lah. Like, okay, they would attend digital classes, mobile classes, or even go to the mobile shopkeeper for help lah. So also that smartphone also have this negative effect. It's quite common, like we have the kind of addiction, eye strain issues, and nuisance if we stay too long on with our mobile phones. So, okay, another thing is that we also want to know what is the perception of their male counterparts or the male mobile phone users. So generally on the gender differences, it's much more mainly on interest, usage purposes, and also gender roles, which is observed among the female participants. So for example, male, they will be more interest like, okay, technical kind of things or engineering kind of topics. And then female is like more to maybe gossips and also household purchase matter. So which is quite true like, because they are the family caretaker, and then like more on entertainment and really keen on exploring those apps and services. So there's also participants observed that actually their spouse not so tech savvy or less tech savvy, and also a conservative user as compared to them. So basically, I would say it is it is observed that they are not much more, oppression or controlling or the restriction on their mobile phone usage. Okay, so the discussion phase here. Okay, these are the intersecting factors identified that shape the female elderly's mobile phone usage and mobile services usage experience, and also their relationship with their mobile phone. So these are the few, like mobile culture and supportive environment, education, economic, interest and motivation, family and social roles, then digital literacy level, socialization, health and well-being. These are few of the factors that intersect together to shape how they use their mobile phone and their experience. Okay, so the discussion point here, firstly, that female elderly can access to their mobile apps and the infrastructures without much hindrances. So firstly, it's because of supportive family, and the mobile culture is really important, especially like how they're going to pay their online, pay their bill payments online, and then how they going to access information, how they do the e-purchasing. So it's really important for those kind of supportive environment. And another thing is that because they are living in the urban context, so also is the urban context going through like the industrial revolutions and digital society development. So it's really important that they have to pick up and adapt to this kind of digital skills and the online technology environment. So the next, education background, digital literacy level, or even prior computing experience, maybe from their work, also shape their confidence level and learning attitude. So if you have lower, if it is observed by one of the female elderly, like she mentioned that if you have lower education background, it also affects that your desire or your confidence level to learn the mobile phones or the digital skills. So, and also the higher level of mobile literacy is really important, that they are able to educate and also protect themselves away from these scams and then fake news and all this. So they'll be more alert and aware. Okay, so the
Sarah,
next.
Can you wrap up in 3 minutes?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just briefly go. So the next, what is the motivating factors that led to women's mobile phone adoptions and advancement in new skills? So the thing is, they really feel it's convenient that they can carry out their family and social roles, and they becoming less dependent, more independent with using mobile phone, and they also have the autonomy, the authority, the flexibility to organize their everyday lives and even their personal interests. And mobile phone is also a melting pot of the culture and language that where how participants practice in their own ethnic circles, or even in cross culture or cross ethnic communication. And the mobility of a phone is really benefit and useful for them to freely access to resources, services, without time and geographical barriers. And also really mobile phones enables them to cope with this loneliness and also enrich their life meaningful, and also cope with the health challenges where they are able to keep fit and active during the pandemic. Okay, so in contrary, what is the demoting factors for the women's mobile phone adoption and skill advancement? So as mentioned, like aging barriers, lack of digital literacy, supportive environments, and then security concerns and negative well-being can be the intimidating or demotivating factors to women's mobile phone adoption. So like actually they have mentioned that the children, they have mentioned that actually they lack of this kind of guidance, guidance patiently from their children or the younger ones. Actually, there's probably some misperception also, as we discussed, that they actually mentioned, the female elderly actually mentioned that the children are willing to help them, are willing to guide them and teach them. But the thing is that because the children sometimes really busy and committed with their work and all these things, so the thing is that the children cannot be there all the time to guide them patiently, to guide them in a really clear and thorough way. So female elderly might find that okay, maybe that my children don't want to be bothered and all that, and then they have to maybe have to self-learn, self-explore, and maybe get help externally lah. So there's some also misperception lah, as we discussed, between the female elderly and also the younger ones. Okay, so the last one is empowerment and gender transformation. So as mentioned that mobile phone also still reinforcing, like continuing this kind of traditional gender roles, like female as the family caretakers or doing carry out some household matter, household matter, purchase matter. And then, however, this intersecting background of this group of the female elderly smartphone user group. So like urban, suburban location, they are more highly educated, financially secure, and all that have resulted a more privileged and empowering position for them. And also it has led to a more equal kind of gender power relations between their family and or their spouse, family members or their spouse or their children. So and also that this group of the female elderly, they are even able to keep abreast or even compete with the male users. So in this case, that actually the male users might not portray as really high tech, really tech savvy, or maybe really interested in the technology. So okay. Before I will go to conclusion, I would like to give a final point of the discussion. So the culture or ethnicity attribute did not show much difference in general. So because they share almost the same communication practices, but only in different languages lah. So but like socio-economic like expenditure explained by Dr. Yvonne and also Mr. Haswan on their on mobile devices, on if they have the enough budget for economic kind of mobile plan. So if they have more extra, then they will go to have extra budget, then they will go to attend to digital skills class and all this. So, and also education background and supportive environment, they possess significant impacts on the mobile usage and experiences. So I would like to address here that the themes and the factors identified is just our observations based on this group of the participants only. So it is not to generalize to the whole population, elderly population, or the female elderly populations. Okay, so in conclusion, overall that this pandemic has enriched the lives of the female elderly's mobile usage experience and has built strong and intimate relationships with their devices if you compare to the intimidating experience. And also the use of mobile phone has promoted connectivity, reachability, intellectuality, and well-being, especially that during the lockdown or the social distancing practices. So this kind of mobile services, mobile devices are becoming essential. Okay, so I would like to give some justification or on the limitations. And here that our sample size is only quite small, like only 7 participants. Well, because the principle of qualitative research is usually just to gain in-depth and rich insights of how female elderly use their mobile phones, their experiences, their actual context and their lived experiences. So actually, we have already collected quite extensive and rich data, and the data has reached a saturation point where the data cost is like repeating data, and sometimes some data might not really give much meaning. So and also our future works, we plan to investigate the older age group, elderly 70 to 80 years old in Malaysia, and then living in semi-urban, lower income groups, and incorporating with the gender and intergeneration perspectives. So, okay, the references, and really thank you. And we'll go pass to the Miss Moderator. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Tara, for the very wonderful and informative presentations. I guess Tara has a lot more to share, especially when I see that we observe that the informants, the elderly, love to have a conversation with her and listen to her patient guidance during her research period. Yeah. And now we are grateful that we see that many participants that you are from different organizations. Maybe you are interested individuals, you are from different universities, NGOs, including U3A here, who are joining us today. Please share with us your thoughts or any questions related to the 3 presentations that you just heard just now. And we really expect many interesting questions from the floor. While waiting for the questions, and I can see that, okay, while waiting for the questions.
The one thing, is it
Yes,
possible
Prof.
to ask orally the question?
Yes, Prof, you may proceed, and you may let us know if you like to address the questions to which presenter.
Oh,
Please.
well, yes, I have 2 questions. One is to Hazwan. In terms of, I miss your early part actually in the presentation. Your choice of, how do you define head of household? When you say it's a female headed household, what does it really mean? Because sometimes people define it as long as there is no man in that house, then it is a female headed household. I'm not sure that is a correct way to define. But for Ms. Tiara, I want to congratulate you for bringing in the gender analytical framework, particularly intersectionality. However, in the analysis, when you use a gender analytical framework, you should be able, actually, the purpose is to see the differential impact or differential experiences between men and women, using all the intersectionalities. And in your analysis, I cannot see that. There's only one part where you talk about men, they prefer to do technical thing. But the others seems to be just focused on women, unless I misunderstood you. And I think that if that is the case, then the whole gender analytical intersectionality framework is not really being exploited fully, actually, for the analysis. I would have loved to see, for example, different ways of using. For every dimension, there should be a gender analytical framework. So I guess that's my concern with your analysis. Yeah, that's my question.
Right. Thank you, Prof. Regarding the household head of the female, DOSM actually assign each of the household based on during the survey of the HIES. So each of the household appoint their household head based on the DOSM during the survey. So it's depend on the household member who they set the household head. So for our analysis of the coding, so the household head is identified in the data set based on the DOSM criteria. So we just manipulate and transform the data based on that, and the coding of the household head, whether the falls into the female or male, was depending on the DOSM data set. So we get how they are set. So and most of them was set by the household member of the survey. So we are not actually set the household head. It's already set by the DOSM based on the HIES surveys.
You know that could be problematic at the end of the day.
Sorry?
It could be problematic at the end of the day, because in a very patriarchal society, the moment you ask family members to decide who is a ketua keluarga and who is the head of the household, in a patriarchal mindset, it's always going to be men.
The men and oldest.
Yes, men and the oldest. So yet that household could have a man elderly men or husbands who are incapacitated, and the one who's been really providing for the household actually is the mother and the wife. So I think this is just a word of caution.
Yes.
I think when we want to now look at a house head, female-headed household, what it exactly means, and I think we need to really be in line with the current thinking of questioning. Perhaps I don't know how DOSM defines theirs actually, but I think this is just a word of caution for future research that needs to be done.
Correct.
Yeah.
If
Thanks.
I'm not mistaken, my last workshop on the HIS data, I think one of the criteria they set for the household head is the one that deciding on the financial control of the household. So in that case, that when the female become the household, most probably that the husband or the partner is absent due to the, maybe divorce or die or something. So that kind of situation that leads to the household, the female household head, but it's not actually the fixed criteria. It's just one of the criteria that set the who is the household head, right? So yeah, that is more or less on our part of how exactly we come up with the household head. All right, thank you, Prof.
Okay, so Prof, thank you for your comments. And regarding to our questions, right? Like, okay, yes, we actually aware that this intersectionality and the research is not like comprehensively including the male also, the male group, elderly group, users group. So actually this research, we aim to voice out strongly on the female perspectives and the perceptions to be included in the technology development and design. Is not to say that the male perspectives are not important or not. So I mean, the case studies, the benefit of case studies is also if in the future that we are able to conduct for the male senior user groups so we can compare between cases. And also actually we are not looking much into like the gender differences, like what is the male and what is the female. I mean, it's not, I mean, we are looking more towards to only female perspectives and also the intersectionality of their backgrounds, that we can confirm that this female group, they are in a much privileged and advantaged background. And actually among the female elderlies, there are also like who is in single and also who are having in a marriage, I mean their marital status, and also they also have like some is that the education level is a little bit different. Of course, because they are in almost the same context, so the differences is not that much difference not that obvious. So I would say that in this research, we are aiming to voice out for the female elderly participants' perspective. I'm not sure if Dr. Wong or Dr. Koh would like to add something on this one.
Well, we do have one interview question raised during the interview sessions with the participants, mainly on their female elderly, their perceptions in terms of their male counterparts. So there are these data that also Tara mentioned, and as of the view of their perceptions, particularly perceptions view by female elderly of their male counterparts. So on that aspect, there are some findings that Tara's mentioned, and we do acknowledge, Prof, your input in terms of intersectionality, which is quite a complicated theories as advised by our advisors as well. It is very complex, and we really need more study to go in depth into looking into the male counterparts perspective, probably the data set from them. So that will be some interesting research topics that probably we can work together for that area of the research.
I mean, I think that I took that, and also because your research is actually focusing on the aging women, the women population. But I think that I just would like to say, encourage you all to begin to look at gender analysis by looking at really data which are beginning with really differentiated data, men, women, that will lead you to then gender analytical questions, which I think are badly needed now in our country. We don't have this kind of analysis. So the fact that you have taken on board a gender analysis framework using a gender lens, and of course intersectionality is of course very, very complex, I think it's a good start, and so I just want to encourage you to do that. But to have this gender lens to move forward, I think in this kind of study, I think is very, very critical. Especially, I mean, I want to share one thing, if I may. For example, during COVID time, I have an NGO here in Kota Baru, which is a health NGO, and we wanted to move ahead with our breast cancer and cervical cancer kind of program with them. But the women, because here many of our clients are actually from the rural areas. They are so afraid to use the telephone, and they don't know even how to really use the WhatsApp in terms of connectivity. So I think there's such a big gap between the urban and the rural areas as well, that I'm concerned. So when we want to say, okay, what should we design? Design for whom? Design for which women? Which group of elderly women are we talking about if we have such disparity? And that's why the intersectionality is of course very important. Yeah.
Thanks for that question. Sorry, Dr. Koo, you like to add on?
No, one thing, carry on.
Carry on, yeah. And Dr. Chuying, yes.
I think I'm okay, but I just want to address the questions being asked by Lily Fu earlier. What would be the needs of the elderly? I think from what Tara's, the insights was 2 high points. One is autonomy, right? Autonomy. And second one is about sense of security, right? I think these two are very important, especially for female elderly. They are no longer want to be a submissive role in a patriarchal society. They want to be, especially when they get access to mobile services and using a smartphone, they find that they wanted to be, in charge and take, of their own life. And especially during COVID-19, for example, when they started to learn how to do, because they know any other way for them to go out, right, to buy their shopping during the full lockdown. So when they get access to use mobile service like online shopping apps, they find that they're in control, and they no longer need to tag along with their partners or their husbands, to go out for grocery and all those things. They find that they are in control when they are able to, even in some situations, the feedback was they can even do purchase online. Then their husband has to come and learn from her. Then it's one kind of the autonomy sense of that power status. And the sense of security, like I say, there's so many online spam these days. And one of the things is they have the hard-earned money, especially, or maybe they're saving the whole life. They want to make sure they are not fall trapped into this victim. Okay, and I pass back to you one thing. I think there was one last question.
Can I add?
Yes,
I would like to I would like to mention that, I mean, only for this group of the female elderly users. Actually, some of them have mentioned that they even help their husband to decide for a mobile phone, purchase a mobile phone, and or maybe which brand to choose and all that. So also the husband, I mean, their spouse also rely on them much, especially on the household matters, like maybe purchasing or maybe choosing the household items and all these things. But of course, if the husband or the spouse is the household head, then of course they are still bound to, like, they need to get permission and to get need to get this financial decision making from the husband to agree to buy these items or this thing. So so there are also some still some I would say that bound to some patriarchal kind of still in the Malaysia context that we can still see here, even among the advanced this female elderly group. And also actually I encounter one of the female participants also that she mentioned that her husband it's like have a more traditional kind of thinking lah, like a very conservative kind of thinking that women are really stupid and also don't know how to use technology, don't know how to touch I mean to adopt this kind of skills and all these things. So that the spouse is really afraid of her touching the computer and all these things. But eventually at last, because she needs to assist her spouse, her husband, due to old age, and then need to assist him in the doing those household matters like paying the electricity bills and all these things. So and eventually she has to pick up those digital skills, the payment services and all this, in helping the husband together in for the household matters for paying and all these things.
Yeah,
Yes, there's some of the observations and some of the from the input from the participants.
thanks for that, Tara. If I may add on also that also for all of our information, elderly is also feeling shy or if they want to ask for help from their household members or from their neighbors or from their colleagues. So that is also one of the findings. So if we can create a more friendly environment for them, if they ask for help, we may extend our help. It will be very useful, helpful for them. I can see that here we have Uni, Dr. Tan, and also have questions from the chat from Chu Kwan Yin. So I'm thinking that maybe we can, the raise hand, Dr. Tan, do you like to unmute and ask, and then we will address the questions from Chu Kwan Yin. Yes, Dr. Tan, please.
Oh, hi. Hi, Tara. So I have a question for Tara, actually. My name is Yunyi, and I'm from University of Science Malaysia, Penang. Let me lower my hand first. Okay, so thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I think the findings really helped me a lot in terms of, because I do digital literacy workshops for senior citizens.
I've read your paper before. It's quite inspiring. And also, I think you have organized the digital, I think the Bengkel, Senior Bengkel is that.
Yeah, Bengkel Technology.
Yeah, I think it's quite inspiring, I think.
So I would like to ask, I might have missed out this from your slides, like where did you recruit your samples, your participants?
Oh, my participants.
Like, where are they from?
We recruited from University of Third Age, U3A, from, I think it's from, but the location is it Klang somewhere?
So they are all from Klang Valley, is it?
The location of the U3A is an program that started at my age in UPM, I think like before 2000 something. So they start as a program of under the UPM, under the My Aging initiative, but they were then independent of, they were independent, they run itself, they run themselves, the organization register and ROS, everything, but their office and everything is still located at My Aging now, in front of the Mardi. So basically the members of the U3A, most of them from the Klang Valley.
Okay, so they are majorly from the Klang Valley. Because what interests me is, like, in your discussion, you mentioned that culture and ethnicity did not show much differences in terms of the findings. Is it correct? Yeah, so probably it's because of that. It's just from the Klang Valley area. Because what I've noticed as I travel, as Bengkel Senior travel from state to state, we discover more and more things about the senior citizens. For example, I would like to share one from the Kelantan context that we did in 2020. So initially, we thought that when we recruit our participants, we thought that the participants who would sign up for our Bengkel would be majorly Malay. We have all these maybe I would call that misconceptions right now, mostly Malay and then male, because due to the demographics factors, the cultures and whatnot. But surprisingly, almost 80% of the participants that sign up are Chinese, because that's quite a finding for us, because like the majority of Kelantanis are Malay, so we thought we would have more Malay participants, but in the end we got more Chinese in Kelantan. And then most of the participants who turn up are also female Chinese, and the male who came for the workshops are the spouse of these female participants. So they sort of like the females sign up first, then they drag their spouse along to join the workshops also. So I'm just suggesting that in the future, like if you want to expand the study more, that you can have participants from different states, then I think your findings will be wider. It's not about, I know qualitative cannot be generalized, but you will get more findings from these people of different states. Yeah.
So the future research, we're looking at about different case studies lah, from like maybe from different geographical areas, and also maybe from different age groups, and even the male lah, including consider the male elderly users for our next future work lah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the sharing.
Sorry, one thing, can I just add a point here? I think Dr. Tan, you have just pointed out how important it is when you do a case study. You really got to be very purposive in the samples that you begin to collect, and you cannot assume simply because one state has 95% Melayu, that all of them come in majority. And this is the state that I'm in. Is very peculiar because basically it reflects that a certain group of people they're not very comfortable with the use of the mobile, except for making phone call and stuff like that, and this has always been a problem for us in Kota Baru whenever technology is concerned. If you do a face-to-face, however, in terms of health, because our NGO is health, it becomes a different picture. Then, and also because we aggressively, I think, targeted to make sure that people come. So I think it's very important to also be aware of the cultural context of the population that you're trying to access.
For your information, Prof also from Kelantan, currently staying in Kelantan, although she is from Perlis. Yeah. Dr. Tan, would you like to interact with Prof, or we proceed for the next question?
No, I'm okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks for that. You may continue, or Tara can continue also collaborate with you for future potential research or anything related. Yeah, thanks for that, Dr. Tan. Now we like to address this interesting question from Chu Guan Ying. How is the research data going to be translated into improvement to the designing mobile services for aging Malaysian women? Who would like to take up the questions from the floor, from the speakers?
Yes, we do expect these questions. Yes, and as a whole, this question to conclude our session, I think is valuable, so that the audience also can get some concrete idea about the way forward of this project. So we would like to communicate in terms of the main idea of the inclusiveness to technologies developer, especially those who develop apps, or maybe providing the services, telecommunication services to the larger populations, or to specific populations in Kelantan, or in terms of certain geographical users in certain places. So this aspect of cultural sensitivity has to be taking place. And of course, our phase 1 mentioned about the affordability in terms of the spending and the consideration of spending and the demographic nature of the society, or the place has to be taken into the considerations. So those are some findings that we have gotten from phase 1 and from phase 2, Tara's research. I think the point mentioned there in Tara's presentations, it is the focal findings that we obtained, particularly in terms of security. And recently there are news also coming out in terms of scam cases. So these are the things that technologies developers need to tackle, so that to give elderly, especially female elderly, a safe zone of using and accessing to the technologies or the application or services provided to them. I think that is one important findings and point that we would like to mention. Maybe my other team member can also add on to the conclusion part for our research. In terms of what is the way forward after this data collection and this research. So that is my point at the moment.
Guan Ying or Chu Guan Ying, are you satisfied with the reply from our project lead? Okay, you are, please unmute. I can see you now.
Yes.
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 You have further questions?
No, I think that is good enough for now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, no point doing research when it cannot be made your use of in the world. So I think, yeah, moving forward.
I would like to highlight that actually this research has been accepted. I mean, we have wrote a paper about this research and it's accepted by the journal IJ Tech. So it's in the process of publication. So if anyone is interested, then you can maybe go and have a look, or maybe you can cite the paper if you're interested.
I think Guan Ying is looking forward. What can it transfer those into the real impact, especially the implementation side? So I would think that as a whole, as a project member, because our project is based on still, I would say it's a very large sample, but like what Dr. Tan Yun Yi mentions, we would like to actually, if in the future, maybe they can consider for the plan that to roll out to any different states when we more conclude, when the findings are much more, massive and more conclusive, then we can reach out to the telco or those mobile apps design that include the gender design. I think that was a longer plan, and this is a very good kickstart with using intersectionality approach, because we can't say just using a sample small size is based on the Klang Valley, the senior females participants to give a very good conclusions. But at least starting out with the gender inclusive framework, there'll be a good start. But we need a lot more case study from different regions if we wanted to have that influence, into the stakeholders, especially those who are designing mobile services, the apps providers. I think that was very important. Yeah, I hope that answer you for this. That is a good starting point. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Chui Ying. And okay, please unmute, Lily.
Yeah, I'm. You can hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, I'm the Vice President of U3A. Yeah, and I would like to commend Dr. Wong. She conducts a course, a 6-week course on digital skills, 1, 2, and 3 for us. And we have learned a lot. So I'm thinking, since Guan Ying was talking about, taking action, what action can we take based on the research so far? And that is, going forward, why can't we replicate Dr. Wong's courses in the smaller towns and the villages and all, because that's your target group, the B40, and also those in the rural areas. They really need to pick up some digital skills. And so far, we are very happy to say that the universities, not all of them, some of the universities have made use of whatever research they've done to actually translate it into action. And I'll give some example. IWUM has conducted workshops for us, right? And also Monash University, Sunday University. These are some of the universities that have done great work. But the problem is this: they are focusing still on the urban areas. And very few university groups are going into the kampongs, into the smaller towns to conduct, not just conduct research, but to actually conduct workshops on digital skills. And this is how you get them, to teach them, to educate them in that sense. But I do not know whether this kind of action is possible. And another thing also, even though they do, maybe some groups have already done it, they've gone into the rural areas, but it's a one-off thing. So if we don't catch that workshop, that's it. you just don't know when is the next workshop. It's not a sustained
Yes,
kind of
that's
program.
correct. Lily,
Right,
Lily, I love your comments and feedback. Thanks for this. Yeah, I've been the not long term, quite some time, you know, the U3A.
Very grateful to you.
Thanks. I'm very grateful to U3A as well, giving this opportunity, you know, to be a trainer for the smartphones and also digital skill. But I think there was two ways I look at it. For us, right, usually unless there is some kind of projects that can, you know, because we want to researchers to go into rural area. Of course, it's like you say, you want to have how to continuous. There are two ways how to look at it. Unless there was a funding project that we will be reaching out, but again, there'll be a one-time off. But how to sustain? I find U3A is not only can focus on, you know, on the Klang Valley, you can roll out to different areas. And that's the second one, because there was, well, when you're the associations, you will gather people, you know, to have that. And how you have that, how to say, the continuous of the instructions, I think that can be trained. Either two ways is, you, of course, you can have a trainer like this. Second thing is, how can we actually, like Lily yourself, you're also very tech savvy person. I would think that, you know, from like you say the U3A Klang Valley, like people like you or some of those I know, like also very tech savvy, your secretary, right? So those people you can train actually to be also go into U3, let's say you set up in, I don't know, in Perlis or Sabah Sarawak, you started to, you know, to engage and all those apart together with instructors, you know, and with U3A, that was a sustainability.
Yeah. So what you are talking about is actually train the trainers. Yeah. Train the trainers to go out there. Yeah. And actually, I've already proposed it before, but apparently it hasn't been taken up. I'm talking about pathway. The government has already got about almost 200 pathways all over the country, right? And they are getting about 5,000 from 30,000 ringgit to 50,000 ringgit grant annual to support the activities. Why is it not happening?
I don't know.
So that's, I just don't know. And since you're addressing older people, you know, to them, time is the essence, you know, because they don't have that much time left. So if they want to reach them, you got to reach them when they're in their 70s. Even that's a bit late now. But, you know, so there's a lot. And I also want to raise one more point, and that is somebody was talking, I think Dr. She's still around. We are talking about gender inequality, you know, in all this. And we are facing the same thing as Dr. Wong will know in our U3A courses. No matter what courses we conduct, more than 50 courses, majority are Chinese, majority are women. So what's happening? We don't know. So hopefully it's not the same case when we go to the rural areas. But I just heard that in Carleton it's the same thing. Right.
Yeah,
so
like
this is another issue that maybe, you know, it's ripe, you know, for further study investigation by, you know, the researchers. Why is it so? I mean, is it? Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting is why not so being ethnic biased. Maybe you wanted to go to the field to find out why female, you know, among elderly, the female are more interested in learning.
Right.
Why?
And I'm looking at the gallery view here. And how many men do I see? I mean, just take this group.
Yes.
Yeah, so I admire, I salute you, Inche husband. I'm not sure if you're a prof or doctor, I'm not sure, but I salute you. I think you're one of 2 or 3 only here, right? And, you know, October is International Day of Older Women. I mean, older women, gosh, even me, I make a slip of older persons, right? And do you know what the theme is this year? You find out, you'll be surprised. Even internationally, it is recognized. This problem is recognized, right? You check it out, the theme for this year. So it just got me like, wondering over and over again, you know, why always the women are coming up everywhere.
Thanks for that.
There is something for us to explore more. Maybe do some research on that, right?
Yeah.
We see that actually women are the volunteers at almost all like events, and we see also women even in learning. So they are lifelong learners, and they could be also different many roles that they play during when they're younger time, no time for themselves. When they got the little time, they really grab it for learning. So elderly are asset for the country.
That is why United Nations this year is saluting women.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
sure,
the
and
team.
not only now.
Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Lily,
Thank
for
you,
that.
Lily.
Okay, we noted all the very precious comments or feedbacks from all of you, the audience. Thank you so much for spending time. We are sitting 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but you are still with us. Very thankful. And we time is not on our side, so we like to end the seminar. And again, we thanks all audience for taking time. Knowledge is power. Elderly are precious assets of the society. So understanding their relationship with mobile phone help us in building a friendly learning environment with them. So indeed, we do not end here, although we are going to end the seminar. But in fact, it's just the beginning of the research journey relating to elderly and technology. We hope to see each other again in the future. In the meantime, to take care of ourselves and our elderly in the society. So see you all again. Keep in touch. Write to
All right,
us
thank
if
you,
you have any
everyone.
questions. Thank you.
All right. So I'm
Thank you
going
so
to end the session for all. So thank you again. See you again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So for our group, can we stay for a while? Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So I'm ending all right.
No,
Don't end first. Yeah.
Don't end first.
You can stop recording.
Stop recording
That's
right
one.
now. I think Dr. Koo, you have one. Maybe you want to exit from the other account first, then we